Jimmy. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm really glad to be able to get you on the podcast finally. I know when I first started this, you were also going through some transition in the middle, it was in the beginning of a pandemic, and I was going through a transition during the pandemic. I was, just laid off, and I was thinking of doing something new, and I thought, hey, I want to start a podcast where I'm talking to really interesting people about topics I'm really interested in, and you were one of the first people actually that came to my mind because I love martial arts, always have throughout my life, and going to your gym, training with you back when I lived in Bend was probably like the highlight of my time there. So and I thought, what,
Thank you.
the way you practice martial arts to me felt like you took some of the principles and lessons to how you live life, and I wanted to talk to you to see how you've been doing that, what lessons or what principles you've been taking away and how you've been applying them, because I think even though not everyone practices martial arts, there's things that they can learn from the practice. So yeah, really glad to have you on, and tell us a little bit who you are. You're Jimmy
Right.
Smith. Say a little bit who you are. What do you do today?
Gotcha. So Jimmy Smith, I was brought up in foster homes, and that was one of the reasons that got me into martial arts. But one of the things also is like what I'm doing today is I'm still training and coaching. I had to pivot my business from a big brick and mortar to more online and hybrid training and in person. I love the martial arts. It's taught me so much in regards to perseverance, adapting, change, compassion. You just got to dig in deep with yourself and just get better through the challenges. And I've been doing this for over 37 years now. So I'm like,
Wow.
had a few years underneath my belt, and it's more about life skills and attributes as opposed to just, oh, you're going to get your black belt. No, it's about you becoming a better version of you during the process of the training. And to me, it's like, yeah, you're going to work out hard and it's super fun and challenging, but you know what? You're going to go at your own level and at your own pace because everybody's different. And when you were training with me, you saw the wide diversity. I had a women's only kickboxing, and then I had co-ed kickboxing, and you rocked it, by the way, every time in there. And you still do better splits than I can, so I can't even get that. So hats off to you.
I don't know about lately though, with the baby and all that.
Right. Well,
yeah. But I love what you talked about, perseverance and resilience, because I feel like those are the two attributes or two skills or characteristics that a lot of us were really leaning on. Those were the muscles I think a lot of us were flexing this past year, right? A lot of us had to persevere. A lot of us had to be resilient. And not everyone, and the reason why I say they're muscles is that, you practice them over time, and not everyone has like those big muscles to begin with. And so, things have been harder for some folks, and it's not that there's anything that's their fault, but that those are muscles you have to kind of keep practicing at, right? You talked about being foster home and how that was the reason you got started. So say a little bit more. You've been doing this for, like you said, 37 years.
yes.
Yeah, tell us a little more how you, why you got into it, why martial arts, why not like other sports?
So I did other sports, and I was really good. I was gifted with, football, not so much baseball, but I was a good runner. But I got into martial arts because I was in and out of foster homes my whole life. So through that, I was getting bullied. I was a skinny kid. I had lacked self-confidence. Through that, I seen my mom beaten in front of me that I couldn't do anything about it at a young age. And so when I tried to help her out, I couldn't because I was just a young kid. And through that, I got jumped, beaten numerous times, stolen from. I started practicing, going to the local karate gyms outside in Long Beach, and I would be going outside, practicing outside the window until the instructor or the sensei or the sifu would come out, and then I would take off running because I didn't want to get beat up by him out on the streets. But I kept on going there, and then I would practice across the street to kind of learn, and people were laughing at me, but I was determined to learn something because I was tired of getting beat up, and my drive was more for I wanted to help my mom, and I wanted to help people out too and build up those skills, because I was never a big guy. I was skinny, so I went to the gym and started lifting, and that was like my balance, and got in shape and learned a lot of great lessons through that. But then I came across a foster parent that got me into judo, and as he first started me in judo, I was like, oh my gosh, I can actually practice on the mat, and the gi and grabbing and throwing and all of that. And then I went into taekwondo, kali, jiu-jitsu, or no, grappling. It wasn't jiu-jitsu back then, it was more like wrestling, and just did a wide gamut of martial arts, from boxing, kickboxing, and started seeing like, wow, these are great, these are really good skill sets. But I was in and out of foster homes my whole life, so it was hard for me to stay through a system to get a black belt, or to stay in there and believe, because it was everything. When it was time to practice it, things changed when it was in a street fight. And I've been in a gazillion street fights and got my butt handed to me many times. But it was through that, like, I would get into my stance, and I was like, man, this was always working in the class, with the guy going at me with 20% aggression as opposed to 100% aggression. That just kind of flipped everything around. So that's where I got like, okay, how is this going to be more into attributes? I love the boxing because there was no belts on there. You're like, okay, it was so simple. It was only 4 punches, a jab, cross, hook. And I was like, an uppercut. I was like, are you kidding me? This, and then you could go in here, and then it was all the skill set, the flavors, the skills that you learned through the process to adapt and become a better boxer. And so through that, I was like, oh man, well, I can add some kicks without having a systematic approach of it's got to be done this way and that way. Mm-hmm. Just like how Bruce Lee started it, and then how the Gracies changed the world. Like that, it was the next evolution. They evolved, and so now it was like, well, how do you evolve all together? And then MMA came in, and through MMA, it was like, wow, it just kind of skyrocketed. Through that, through martial arts, I was very fortunate and blessed to train with some of the top people. Art Camacho, who's a good friend and mentor, and my number one like personal sifu, so to speak, that I still stay in contact with today, is just had a huge impact on my life. And there's people.
For people who don't know who Art is, can you say a little bit of who he is?
Yes. So Art Camacho is a fight choreographer in Hollywood.
And I think there's a little bit of a lag, so.
Uh-oh. Yes, they're doing construction out here, so apologize on my end. So Art Camacho is a great martial artist that came up from the barrio of LA, was an overweight kid, and just made his world change. And I really cling to him. As a martial artist, he was phenomenal. He's had multiple black belts. But through that, he was able to work in Hollywood and become a fight choreographer. I started out as a stunt double, a fight choreographer. Now he's a director in the Hollywood films, which is really cool. So to see his passion and to be influenced through that when he was kind of starting out at the beginning of his career, and he just skyrocketed. And today it's like, man, it's amazing. Every time I try to go down to LA, if he's not working, I was like, I gotta see you. He's like, come to the set. I'm like, all right, I just want to see you and hang out with you, because it's so much. He was one of the biggest role models, because I didn't have a father growing up. So I looked at him as one of my father figures, and a lot of other martial artists, coaches that came into my life through my high school wrestling coach, Antonio McKee, Mike Cataline, a lot of other like martial artists that had a really specific skill set. The best thing through Art is he taught me so many life lessons that was really hard, but it's also, he was the one that I got my foot into, being a stunt double, helping him with some of the fight scenes, and being on the movie set to be with some of the top martial artists back in the day, you know, from Gerald Yokomoto, Richard Rabago, a lot of great people that I learned a lot of skill set from. And I was able to do actually about 10 to 15 films as a fighter, as a stunt double, as an extra, and it was just about being around great martial artists too.
That sounds super fun.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, you know, I love the way you shared your story, how you talked about you first got into it because, you know, you wanted it was self-defense. You know, you felt like you had to protect yourself, you wanted to protect your mom, and eventually you got to a point where it sounds like you found like a higher meaning or this bigger purpose to martial arts more than
Yes.
just self-defense. um, and then you also shared around, you know, the perseverance and the resilience aspect. What do you think are the biggest life lessons for you today around martial arts that you not only you practice but you also teach?
So there's gonna be, and this came to me. I forgot who told this to me, but every storm eventually runs out of rain. So meaning like life is tough, life is challenging, and it's not gonna get easy. You just got to get better at you. So if you start imposing like work, focusing in on yourself instead of outsourced resources, believing other people, because I was doing that. I wanted them to believe in me so I could believe in me, as opposed to the other way around. I need to believe in me so other people could. I start with me and then it can come on the outside. So through that, like adapting, changing, like I've done it. I'm living it. I've persevered. My whole life has been tough. Like I had to adapt. I was in from one foster home. I get accustomed to one family, and I'm like, all right, here it is. And all of a sudden, boom, I moved. So that kind of resilience of like, all right, my ups and downs, my emotional roller coaster, and it's part of life. Like, you know, I'm married. I have 3 kids, and I'm trying to teach my kids, and it's like, you guys have no idea what it's like not to have to worry about getting jumped, getting stabbed,
Yeah.
getting beaten. You have a life, you have food on the table, you don't have to worry about somebody taking things away, and they have another skill set too. So through the martial arts in life, it's taught me how to adapt, overcome challenges. This COVID-19, who would have ever thought this was in here? I had a
Yeah.
flourishing gym. I started from my garage when I started training people, and then I moved to a 500 square foot, 1,000 square foot, 1,500, 2,000, and 3,000 was my last location. I was getting ready to expand, but then COVID hit, and it was like, no, the lives that I've changed when people come through my path is so personal to me, because man, you're trusting me, and it's hard work, and I'm not gonna let people like, oh, just quit on themselves, because I've quit on myself, and I know how I have to get off. When you're in a rut, you need to be around people that are going to be getting you and uplifting you at that time. And through this, it wasn't my doing, but yet when clients are changing in, and then I had rent and gyms just going crazy, like people were closing and the pandemic and everybody's hit, and I respect that. When people lost their jobs, I could not keep on charging them out of the heart. You know what I mean? And this is part of like the
Yeah.
martial arts. Like my word is my word. Like I ripped up everybody's contract, and I was like, you know what? We're starting over. I mean, and then I was like, oh shit, I still got to pay rent. I still got to pay my bills. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I was always doing personal training from fitness. You cannot be a great martial artist and not be in good shape, and vice versa. You know, a good fitness person or martial artist has to have that. So it's literally like the hand in glove. And all my instructors were always fit. Not one of them till this day is out of shape. And I still keep that in there. And it's from weights to calisthenics to shadow boxing to drills to lifting to functional training. And that's what I've gotten into more of that. So through that, this was a whole arsenal of all these coaches that came to me, or that I went to them, and I was able to learn from them. But the only difference now, I just add my flavor based on each individual, because you're going to be different from training from this person. And I could never be like, okay, here, you're going to learn, you're going to get your black belt, and here's all these steps that you have to do, which is great. But to me, that was never my ordeal, because it was all about, you move different, let's move this one here, and I'm able to adapt on the spot. And being from that experience to pull from art, like he's got to move this way, this guy's going here, this person's here, so you got to make these certain moves that make them look better, that work with them. And there's a good skill set that doesn't happen overnight. Same thing with exercises. When people have a bad back, bad neck, well, don't do this, let's work around that. Focus on what you can do as opposed to what you can't do. And that's what martial arts is all about. Like, yeah, different stages and ages, we're going to have a different skill set.
Yeah, I think that's also why I really enjoyed training with you, is because of the fact that maybe that's just like the rebel part of me, but I didn't like the structured gyms. You know, I didn't like the structure of you got to know these things and then we'll grant you the next level.
Right.
You know, and I enjoyed much more your approach of, well, let's see what you can actually do and how you apply those, right?
Right.
Because you could have the basics down, but just knowing the moves doesn't mean that you. I guess it's like the sum is greater, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? Like you could have all the moves individually, and just knowing them is not enough. You got to know how to put them together. And I remember to this day, I still remember one of the hardest things you made us do was, it was only like barely a minute or a 3 minute round where you put on like all these pads and you'll come at us, and then you said the goal is for us to just stay standing.
Right.
Or if we fall, we have to get up. And I just remember like those were the hardest 3 months of my life. And that's where like those skills that you teach us, it's like, oh my gosh, like when it matters,
right,
I don't remember them, or they're just so hard because I'm struggling with, like you said, the fitness part and also the skill sets part. So I really like how you're talking about, you know, like it's really more about, yeah, you might know X, Y, Z, but you know actually how to use them.
right. And when you're in an encounter, and that's the number one thing, is your adrenaline's going to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour, and it's going to go back and forth. So you have to know yourself. You have to learn. The challenge is always within yourself. You have to learn how to adapt. And how do you get better? By pushing you through the limits safely, but not hurting you, but also calling you out to make it like, this is going to be the grind. Now you transfer that into your work. Man, I got this board meeting. This guy's whatever this quote, or he's not going in here. So now you're like, you know what? If I can go in here at this level of 3 minutes, I could deal with this guy because I don't have to worry about getting punched or moving and all this. It's just the mental. But look at the mental strength that you got through that. It was hard on everybody, not one person. And it was like, I call it the gauntlet. So one person's in the middle and everybody comes at you at different stages. And you're like, oh my gosh, well, welcome to organized chaos. Welcome to life. Once you get, like, this is a new chaos that we're in right now. Now we're like, oh, how do I got to adapt and move? Like through all of this stuff, I've never stopped serving people from my heart. Like I know in my heart, and it's a lot more personal, especially when I'm training women in self-defense, like, because my mom, I can really help, and I've helped thousands of people through that, the self-defense, through martial arts, through kickboxing, through fitness, and it's so cool to be a part of their story. So I tell people I'm a bridge, and I'm also a shortcut. So I'm a bridge from point A to point B. Here's the shortcut is me in between. So it's how you use me forever, however long, however long a season or your reason. But I know when you come through my bridge, it's going to be the best darn thing that I can do to help serve you at your skill, as opposed to somebody else like, oh, okay, you got to do this, and I don't know, it's my way or it's the highway. No, I'm constantly adapting with my clients. I'm still training kids, I'm still training women, I'm still training men. And that's really fun because they bring my skill to serve them. Like, he moves different here, I gotta go here. And then when I had classes of 40 to 50 people into a class, and we kept that pace at all skill levels going, it was challenging. But now I'm pinpointing on you. Oh, all my attention and focus is on you. So how can you not get better if you don't do the work? You know what I mean? And you've always done the work, and that's what was like. It was a good community. You've seen people come in and go, and like, oh yeah, they give a first month, and like, oh, it's really hard. Well, welcome. Yes, we're not going to lollygag. We're here to work out. Let's work out. You can talk afterwards. It's not tea time. It's workout time. So
yeah, I love that. I also really enjoy your analogy of being a bridge. So along the lines of like you being the bridge, you're adapting to people and you're adapting to your business, right? With
right.
the COVID-19 and the pandemic. Share a little bit, what do you do today? Because you don't have a physical gym anymore, but you're still active.
Yes.
training. So how are you doing this today?
So I am doing what I call is like a hybrid. I do in-person, very limited in-person because it's only me. I don't have to hire coaches. So what I do is I do in-person training out of my house or online through Zoom, or I also have my own custom app that I train clients remotely all over the world now, which is really cool because I've never thought I would ever do that and understand that, and I had to learn, and I went and got certified to become an online certified trainer, which was really cool because I hate going back to school, but yet I did it and I passed, and I had to go with the changes. So I serve people from if they have stressful jobs, if they're looking to get in shape, lose weight, build confidence, if they have a home gym or if they have a gym, or if they want to learn kickboxing, self-defense. Well, this is one program that's all dialed in. When I had the gym, I had to separate it. But now you get all of me with everything that I have. I got a nutritionist that helps with all the meal plans, so I got somebody way better than me that can help serve my clients to reach their goals. And everybody's so different. And so that's how I'm training people now, which is a good learning curve because I still want to stay in the game, but I also don't want to I can't help anybody anymore. I just had to adapt, and this is living proof. I mean, through this pandemic, who would have ever thought we bought our first house? And I was like, it was challenging. I'm still moving, packing, building everything, and then the stressors, but I'm still training clients. And through that, it's like, dude, we are all faced with challenges, and we're gonna be faced with them for the rest of our life. It's just, how do you get better? You get better by being around better people, books, podcasts, learning, continuing my education, listening to music, whatever it is that's gonna help you be the better version of you. You cannot go wrong. It's like a client said, if you're willing to gamble, you better gamble on yourself. And I'm gambling on myself 100%.
Yeah, I love that. So if you said something interesting, like, because you used to have that in-person training, and I found that really valuable. And then you also said that now you get to work with people like internationally too, which
Yes.
you couldn't have done before, right, with brick and mortar gym. So if people want to get in touch with you, if they're curious about how they can learn martial arts remotely or just get in better shape or whatever their goals are, and they are curious about you, how can they reach out?
So they can go to my website. It's smithma.com, SMITHMA.com. Reach through, see the videos. There's a contact us page right there, and you can see when I had the gym. And then from there, I can kind of reach out more remotely. And then there's an application if they want to train with me. There's a pre-screening that it helps me, helps them. And you can go to this. If they want to just go straight into the application, it's tiny.cc/Smith, SMITH, hyphen application, APPLICATION. And then you can just go there, fill that out directly, and I will reach out to them and see if we're a good fit. And if not, I will direct them to other people too, because I can't serve everybody, but yet I know where my expertise is. So
yeah, I love that humility in your practice too. So that's awesome that you kind of just call that out too. Like you said, I think it's amazing how you've turned your business around in like such a short time. Like you built your practice over the years, and I've seen your gym grow over the years too. When I first started, and to where it was last. So the fact that you turn around, you put it online, and now you're serving people in a very different way, and still keeping true to kind of what you believe in. And you also bought a home, so
right.
Big deal, really big transition. So in many ways, I would say congratulations.
Thank you.
And also for people watching or listening, the red was unplanned.
Yeah,
we
no
did
kidding.
not, share notes on what to wear. But I think it's also auspicious because today is the Lunar New Year, and I wanted to wear red because that's just our color, especially in the Chinese culture and many other, East Asian cultures too. And the fact that you're wearing red, I think is just an auspicious sign that we were meant to come together and
Oh
have
my
this
goodness.
conversation.
That's right. And you know what? This is the thing. Through one of my logos, I wanted to share this too, is because I had a client that actually built this. I had traditionally the yin and yang symbols of life, and which is great. But now this is what she ended up building for me, and this was on my logos. So these were hands of destruction at one point. Now these are hands of construction to build people up through this. So, and we all need each other to lift each other up. And Wendy, I appreciate you more than you can imagine. And it was cool training with you and your husband when you guys came down. It was awesome. And
Yeah,
can't
that was
wait
so
for
fun.
to see the little baby too. That's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy. Folks, the information to get in touch with Jimmy is below on the screen. If you have questions for me or if you want to check out what I'm about, my information is below as well. And as always, thank you for tuning in. And this was Blackboard Podcast. And thank you, Jimmy. And
Awesome.
I'll see you all later.
Thank you.